Hello, hi, I am John McCormack, and I was speaking at Data Scotland this year, and the talk was regarding being an individual contributor and how to move your career forward in that respect. However, my room was full, much to my surprise, and unfortunately had to disappoint a few people who weren't able to get in. They really wanted to see the content. It isn't online anywhere, so I've had a little think about it, and what I would like to do is put together a couple of short videos for you, which are going to detail the key concepts. So this particular one, where I'm going to do advancing your career from junior to an established engineer, or what we call a mid-level engineer sometimes. And the other one we're going to do is how to get from that sort of established engineer to being a senior engineer. This should have gone full screen, I don't know. There we are. Okay. So, who am I to talk about this? Someone that's had two kind of distinct careers. Started work in 1997, just following a kind of traditional career path. I joined the bank, tried to work through the different levels there, moved into telecoms. But I was in a number of managerial roles, and ultimately I didn't think it suited my personality right, and I felt I was more of a technical person. That led to having to, in my sort of mid-20s, go to university a bit later than everyone else, get my computing degree, and then just start working in the data world. So I started that in 2012 as what was entitled an associate DBA, or you may even see it classed as a junior DBA, with a company called Monster. I stayed there for a number of years. I progressed to a DBA, so that's really what this talk is about, going from junior to the sort of established engineer. And then I left a little bit later on when I was looking for more opportunities. Eventually I went back there for a couple of years before finally settling at my new company DocuSign as a senior DBA. So let me just go back, sorry. So when I talk about the different roles that are there, typically when you're in your first data job and any other jobs, you're going to start as what they call a junior or an associate. Me, because I'm in the DBA path, when I got to mid-level, the job was just called DBA, or it could be data engineer, data analyst, but it's probably not going to have senior or junior around it. Once you progress from senior, depending on the size of the company, you might find that there are some lead or principal roles as well for people who want to take their career to the next level and also be a bit more advisory than hands-on, but still stay as an individual contributor rather than moving into management. So how do we get there? Well, first of all, you have to look at the role that you're trying to get to, what it is that you want to achieve, and you have to develop the skills to be able to do that job and document it. So what I mean by that is, it's not a case of just trying to get the next job, but you have to be ready to do the next job, and by learning the skills that are required to get there, and by documenting the sort of work that you do on your journey towards moving into that position, you will make it a lot easier come the time, whether it's a one-to-one annual appraisal or whether it's a job interview. If you decided you have to move elsewhere for the promotion you're looking for, you will be very prepared and hopefully able to get the job that you want. So I'm going to look at a real example of mine, which does go back a bit in time, but it goes back to when I was an associate DBA, and I'm going to talk you through the things that I did during that time to get to the established engineer role, and also I'm going to talk you through an example of the STAR methodology, which is a great way to prepare for interviews and appraisals, because it makes you very organised and it means that you get good results to back up your actions. So the first thing I would say before we get into the stars is have a way of recording the things that you do, even if it's just some way of taking a note of it. I have a folder in my email called Praise, and if someone says something that I've done well, if I get some positive feedback, or if I solve a problem, even if no one tells me I've done well, what I'll do is I'll leave a little note in there. And it means come the time where I want to have this sort of conversation with a manager, then I have examples. What I'll do is I'll build those into stars, so that I've got plenty to talk about, and there are, reasons behind the actions that I took. So what I've said here at the bottom of this slide is that the result is very important. So just saying, you wrote a few hundred lines of code to automate a process doesn't quite resonate the same way as having a really good result. So if your result was, I saved the company £200,000 in cloud storage costs, that's going to get someone's attention. They're going to say, wow, £200,000, how did you go about that? So let's have a look at some of the things that I did and I think that would help you to get to that established engineer level. So first of all, especially when your skill level is low, but you're wanting to try to make an impact, is pick up the easy stuff. There will be loads of requests and commands and even just sometimes questions that come into the team. And if you're able to answer them or take on the work without too much help and assistance until you become self-sufficient, then that's the sort of stuff that you should start with. You'll see work that you don't know how to do. It seems more technical, or it's an unusual request, something that you've not learned yet. Don't dodge those. A lot of people dodge those tickets, and people that dodge that kind of work are the people who are kind of happy to sit where they are, which is fine to a point, but you're listening to this talk, you want to move your career forward, you need to find out the strategies to actually become better at doing the job so that the promotions just kind of become automatic. So don't dodge the difficult work. It will give you an opportunity to collaborate with people, it will give you a chance to learn new technologies, new skills, maybe find new teammates in other departments, be it networking, storage, hardware, all those sort of things. So they're a really good opportunity. Just learn the job really well, collaborate when you can, and sort of learn from the more senior people around you. Certifications are really good when starting off. I did all of the, it's changed now, but it was MCSA and MCSE to learn the sort of database administrator role. I did all of those, and they basically gave me a very formal way of learning, to learn everything that I needed to know to be an effective DBA. The certifications are more role-based now, and there are fundamental ones, which are the easiest ones to get started in, but you'll find a lot of benefit in doing those, with the motivation being to learn what is in it, not really just to achieve the certificate, because achieving the certificate can be done fairly easily, but to really try and learn the content. So when it comes to your one-to-ones and your annual appraisals, you need to prepare well using the things I mentioned on the previous slide. So you need to have examples that fit the sort of competencies of the role that you're in. So you need to be able to argue for the rating that you want. If your company uses a rating system, say 1 to 5, which is pretty average and expected in the industry. So use your praise box, make sure you've sent your own examples to it as well. Don't just rely on everyone telling you you're doing a good job, because it's not always in people's nature. Your feedback doesn't have to be from managers, they can be from colleagues. I'm going to talk about an example where I took some tedious work away from some colleagues, and that resulted in good feedback from them as well. If you're not reaching the kind of score that you want, that you think is going to help you get to the next level, or your manager thinks you're not ready for the promotion that you think you're ready for, then you need to ask, what would it take to get that? What's the realistic time frame to get that? What do you need to see me doing? And from that, if you get that documented, that gives you a clear action plan on what to do, whether it's over the next year or 6 months, something to work clearly towards. Are you prepared to move if the company isn't prepared to move with you? So that's a difficult one, especially when you're new. It can be a bit of a safety net. You know that your skill level isn't particularly high, especially if you've been doing the job one or 2 years. You know that you probably have a lot to learn, but sometimes you can outgrow a company. Sometimes they just don't have the money for it, or maybe people don't see in you what you see in yourself. So if it's the right time to move, that's something you should absolutely consider. if you can get the promotion and career progression that you're looking for within the company that you work for, and you like working there and you want to stay there, then that's more than ideal. So come review time, you've got your examples to go through to sort of discuss why you think you should be an established engineer. And also, if it comes to the job interview, these work exactly the same. So here's the scenario here. I was going to make it roll out slide by slide. So if you read ahead, you read ahead. But let me just talk you through from the situation. So the S and star situation. Situation was, as a new DBA, I found myself doing the same kind of tickets multiple times per week. In this example, they were called data refreshes. And quite simply what it was a developer environment would get a sort of copy of production data, albeit masked, but sometimes over time that data drifted from being close to production. Maybe people had run deletes on it or modified it or inserted more data, and they wanted it to get back to closely resembling production. So these sort of table refreshes were time consuming. Once you learned the process, which was a fairly manual, clunky process, it was not really teaching you anything each time you did it. It was just taking time, which was fine. But on the other side of the scale, as well as taking your time, there were also developers waiting for someone to pick up each ticket. So they had to wait. Sometimes that would result in them chasing up the team. Can someone look at this ticket? It's just not an ideal way to work, because you're dependent on other people to get the job done for you. So I had to review the current process and decide where it could be automated, if it would be safe to do so, how much benefit it would bring. So if I decided I could do this but really it's not helping anyone, then you want to ditch that kind of project. But thankfully in here I sort of worked out that we're spending about 2 hours per week on that, which is, over 100 hours in a calendar year. So I measured what the time taken would be so that I could show that in a kind of financial terms based on salary or whatever to the company. This is the amount of working time that can be saved to allow us to work on other processes. From the technical point of view, I developed a self-service website for internal developer use that allowed them to request certain tables refreshed to certain development environments. I developed stored procedures to do the database work side of things, and also those piggybacked on some of the existing processes, which meant that the whole thing didn't have to be completely re-engineered. It just meant that it was happening at a click of a developer's button rather than the click of a DBA's button. And that all had a web interface, and that was only people who were allowed to do the refreshes were in the role that allowed them to access the web page. I allowed them to do that on demand, just reducing any friction in their job. The result was I had developed the first internal self-service website for the company. It led to great feedback from developers. It improved development efficiency. My manager was delighted at the productivity savings, and those could be measured as well, because what I didn't mention was I had a way of recording all the kind of page visits and actions that were taken, so we could see exactly just how much had been used. The team members that I worked with were delighted that they also didn't have to pick up these boring requests. And what it did was it led on to further ideas which could be incorporated into the site in multiple pages, so the initial self-service became more than just this data refresh process. So that was one example, and you would want to write examples for all of the different aspects of your job, whether you're maybe doing some cost optimization work, have you saved the company some money by reviewing resources, whether you've taken on a technical challenge with regards to maybe slow performing queries, or really anything to do like that. You can work into these star examples and they will set you in good stead, and all the best when it comes to time to go for those promotions and pay rises. I hope that you can follow the steps and get the success that you deserve. Thank you.